Hey, welcome to Life in the Leadership Lane. I'm your host, Bruce Waller, where I am getting to talk to leaders that, well, they are making a difference and they're continuing to make a difference as leaders in their career. And man, we are going to close season 2 with a bang today because we're going to talk to one of my favorite leaders, and his name is Mike Snyder, also known as Coach Snyder. Yep, he's the head football coach at Seminole High School in Seminole, Oklahoma, home of the Chieftains. And my former coach. Hey, Coach, how you doing, man?
Good, son.
How about it?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me. That means a lot to me.
Well, I got to tell you, this is special for me too. We're going to close season 2, and I just to be able to have a conversation with you. I mean, you are a legend at Seminole. I just real quick, I talked to a good buddy of mine, your broadcaster, former player Greg Carter, earlier this week. And he spilled all the good stuff. No, he's
well, we're in trouble then.
I know, that's what I was going to say. 42 years. You just finished your 42nd year in football. You got 379 wins, including 55 playoff wins. I was figuring it up, man. That's 9 wins a year, 1 state title and 5 runner-ups. And that's incredible. And then of course, this year I got to come watch and call a game this year. You had another great season. Let me just start it off. How'd the season go for you?
Well, I tell you what, coming off of what we had last year, the COVID year, and just struggling, everything kind of fell in place for us. We had a really tough schedule. We had a kind of a unique schedule in that we had lost a couple of games in there due to some team scheduling problems. So we opened up with Trinity Christian out of Dallas, Texas, and that was Deion Sanders' former school. But they come up and played and were able to win that one. And then Evangel Christian out of Shreveport, Louisiana wanted to come up and play. They had an open date we matched up with. So it was kind of an incredible season as far as being able to play a lot of different people that we have not played. But we finished 9-1. Got beaten first round in playoff by Verdigris. Lost about 5 starters in that second half that on the defensive side of the ball. We just couldn't stop them at the end. And they got beat in the semifinals. So by the state champion Holland Hall. So it was a good year. We were basically a junior football team, so we're excited about having all those kids back next year. But it was a really fun year because it's a good group of kids to coach.
I love that. And I got to tell you, I was thinking about, when you end the season, it's always a bummer, right? It's the last game, it's over, but then you get to look back and you get to reflect. And what I heard from you is, hey, we had a good season. There was a lot of good things that went on. I want to talk about a lot of things around your perspective today, and before we get started, I want to for everybody to kind of learn a little bit more about Coach Mike Snyder. Like, I want to know, like, where did you grow up, and just kind of kick this off, and what led you to coaching at Seminole?
Well, I went to Holdenville all my life, product of Holdenville High School, graduated there. That's a long time ago. But, and people in Holdenville were so good to me. I was so blessed there to have that community try to help take care of me and get me through college and stuff. There was a lot of people there that helped me get through college. But, after that, I went to East Central University, played baseball and football my freshman year there. And then, there wasn't a great calling for 170-pound offensive guards at the college level. Played some baseball there, and then got into coaching. It's one of those deals. I was kind of a ship without a rudder there for a little while in high school, and I had some people who stepped up and guided me in some right directions. And I graduated, and then back in 1972 when I started here, it was tough to get a coaching job at that particular point because there were so many coaches out there looking for jobs, and you coming out of college, it's hard to get that really good job. But fortunately, I was hired to help in football here, and then when I got here, they told me I was the head baseball coach. But that fall, I said, "Oh, by the way, you're the head baseball coach too." But that was good because I was a baseball player. Loved baseball, and just as much as I did football. And we started we were able to overcome. They had not won a baseball game in 2 years. So it was a baseball program that had been neglected quite a bit. So that's kind of how I got started. And Coach Estes, who hired me in 1972, was my head coach there that guided me through my coaching career there and got me started. But, coming to Seminole was kind of a shock because Holdenville and Seminole was a great rivalry. My senior year in high school, we play in Seminole. The game ends in a huge fight. Matter of fact, we don't even finish the game. There's about a minute something left. They just called the game because it was a bench emptying brawl. And what's funny about it is I've coached some of those guys, kids who was on that team that we got to fight with. So Seminole has been really good to me.
Wow. I got to tell you, I knew, I didn't realize Seminole's baseball team, you kind of helped get that going again. That's one of the areas you've also coached a state runner-up team, which I was part of back in 1982, which was pretty special. Hey, let me ask you this. I'm curious. You mentioned Coach Estes. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. I'm curious and you mentioned earlier, there were some people that kind of helped guide you. I'm always interested in leaders that have had success, if they've had mentors in their career, and like, what was it about them that made them such a good mentor?
I think what's important as a person as you're going along in your career is to find that right mentor. And I think God puts those people in your lives, but you have a choice your choice is who do you follow and who do you choose as your mentor. And I was very fortunate at the high school level to have a high school football coach, Glenn Wolf, had a baseball coach, Kenneth Hull, and a BOAG teacher, Joe Roniker, that helped those three guys. And then I had a senior English teacher who, for some reason, took me under her wing and guided me through a lot of things and through life, and encouraged me. I tell you what, I was a very, very average student in high school because I didn't all I wanted to do is go play ball. I didn't care too much about making A's and B's. If a C was there, I was happy. My parents wasn't very happy, but I was happy. But she got me kind of academically lined out and guided me through some things. Glenn Wolf and Don Ferris was my sophomore coach, and then Glenn Wolf comes in Holdenville, and probably, boy, I tell you what, probably, I don't know, he's probably one of the meanest coaches I've ever been around. And you just didn't mess up. And Kenneth Hull was a baseball. We won the three state championships out of my 4 years in high school in baseball. So it was a baseball town. They won several state championships there. And football, when I was a freshman, we won the state championship in 1964 in football in Holdenville. And of course, I didn't get to play, but was involved in that a little bit. So I've had people around me that were very successful, and I tried to follow those guys and the people that were put in my lives. But I think the mentor, I think people sometimes don't realize someone is a mentor in your life until you get a little older and you realize how much impact that person really had on your life. And that's kind of the way I am with some people that I later, when I reflect back on my career and ask, how did I get here? And I have to give credit to a lot of people there that had so much impact on me and my life and guided me in the right way. And, the mental toughness part of it, I think I was taught at an early age. You always, if you're close to your family, that you always have a mentor in your family also that's going to guide you through a lot of things. My dad was probably the mentally toughest person that I've ever been around, and had probably the best work ethic of any person I've ever seen. And I've tried to follow that guideline that he set down, and that work ethic and that mental toughness. I think that he instilled in me at an early age. And then Coach Wolf probably did that in my junior, senior year, what mental toughness really meant on and off the football field. So I think those people are the mentors during my high school years growing up. And then Coach Estes, I think probably, and I think it's really important as a coach that you get under that first head coach that's going to guide you. And he took me under his wing and took a chance on a guy right out of college who he probably had a lot of choices to choose from, but I was very fortunate he chose me to be part of this program in Seminole.
Man, what a gift, what a career, so special to be surrounded by great people. I think you're right. A lot of times you don't realize it until you get later through life and reflect back and look at all the good people that you've been around and what they've taught you. Hey, let me ask you this. You came in, so of course you came in as assistant. You became the head football coach in 1980, and you don't do it by yourself, do you? You got to have some good coaches around you. We just talked about the importance of that. And one of the things I like to talk about, there's a lot of business people listening to this podcast. And one of the things is it's important is that they're always looking for talent. In fact, we are taping this show 2 weeks before Christmas, in Oklahoma just hired a new football coach. And one of the things I thought about as they were going through that search is, what does a good football coach look like? And so I just want to ask you, I mean, you've had some incredible coaches. I mean, I'll tell you, there were one still with you, Coach Tinsley still with you, but Coach Pritchard was one of my coaches. I remember Coach Spavital, and then you've had players that have come back like Coach McElvain and of course your son. What did you look for when you recruited coaches, and what made them so special, assistant coaches?
I think you have to define one thing. First of all, you have to define character. High character person is a high esteemed person, and that correlates into a very hard worker and a person that the kids are going to follow. So I think character is probably the most important. And I think you talk about OU, they went and got a high character person.
Yeah.
So that's something I think that you have to relate to. I think that's something I look at first. I look at their work ethic. A lot of times I have their wives come for an interview too, because I think it's important that this profession is so demanding time wise. And when you start football in August, it's 7 days a week. We meet on Saturday mornings with our football team, watch film Sunday afternoon all day with the coaches. So I think they have to understand the sacrifice that coach has to make. And I've hired some coaches that I don't want to put didn't have very good coaches wise. Okay. And I think if you go back and you look at the amount of divorces in coaches, I think that rate is going to be extremely high. I read an article one time how high that was. And that's because you don't marry the right person. I was so fortunate and married the person I did, who is probably the most outstanding coach's wife that ever set foot on this earth. I think that family background that person has is a huge key when you go to hire them. I think communication skills is very important because football is an extension of the classroom. That's all it is. And you have to be able to teach on the football field as you teach in the classroom. So I think you have to identify those good teachers at the same time that you identify that person being a good coach. And being an athletic director, I've had to hire a lot of coaches in different sports, and that's the first thing I look for is character. I think as I said, work ethic is one. And I think one thing that we forget a lot is, and I don't know if it's overworked or overstressed, but loyalty is really big to me. I think loyalty is the key. I've hired one coach, I think, in the lifetime that hadn't been loyal, and it didn't take long for him to leave. And that, a lot of times you're going to make mistakes in business or anything. When you hire people, you're going to make some mistakes in hiring that individual. You just can't allow that individual to do any damage in your program or your business or anything. And that's when you have to turn somebody loose. That's the toughest thing there is to do. Loyalty, commitment. I think those are the words that I look for. And boy, I like to get those coaches have those junior high kids that are about 6'2", 290. Okay, they can run. Okay, I like to find those guys, but they're not out there very often. All right, I've been fortunate to have a couple of them. But as you said, right now, with 8 people on our staff, 6 out of those guys played for me.
Oh wow!
6 out of the 8. So that I understood their background. I understood what type of player they were and what type of young men that they are. And I think it's important for our coaches to be good fathers, good husbands, and good people in the community. And if you can't do that, then you don't need to fit here in our chieftain family. You need to go find somewhere else. So I think those things, well, I'll tell you what, right now, in today's society, it's very difficult to find coaches, right? And there's a shortage of teachers, as you know, and when there's a shortage of teachers, there's a shortage of coaches and sponsors. So you have to go find that person, and getting someone to move right now across the state of Oklahoma is almost impossible. They're set in their house, and you don't want to hire someone that's been fired because they got fired for a reason. So I mean, I usually have a list of assistant coaches that I have come in contact with, that I write their names down. And when I'm talking to their head coaches, I always ask about his assistant coaches, and I always write a name or two down here or there that I think would be a fit for us. And I've been fortunate enough for a couple of those guys to come on board that coached at some different schools, and Coach Pritchard, of course, as you know, he came from Prague. He was on my list very high because of his character or because of his moral values. And it did not take me long to hire him. And he just became, the best defense coordinator I've ever had, the best assistant coach I've ever had, the best friend I've ever had, and who later became the superintendent of schools here and did such an outstanding job. So I think when you hire those high quality people and you put those people around you and you let them do their job, then you're going to have a chance for success. And one thing I said when I first got hired as head coach is, assistant coaches need to coach. They have to buy in, and they have to have input. And I think that's important for any business person is to have your people understand what they're worth. I think in your book, if I remember correctly, 83% of the people in America feel underappreciated. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right. Job? Yeah, that's right. The book, Everybody Matters by Bob Chapman talked about that. You're exactly right. I love that. Coach Pritchard, I remember whenever he came in, man, he was all like, he was a young guy. Just out of college,
Yeah. Good looking. Well, you always worked out, yeah.
But you know what? I just remember his humility. That's what I remember.
Very humble.
Very, very humble person. And then, your guys today, I was just at the field house, this year, and I just got thinking, man, what a great coach. One thing I wanted to ask you though, is you got your son on the staff, Snyder, played baseball at Oklahoma, won a national championship, just been a great athlete. What's it like to coach with your son?
Well, it was a challenge sometimes. If you didn't have such a good mama, I'm not sure. Okay. But it was such a joy, to be able to coach him. Okay. He was an all-state quarterback for us, went to sign with Tulane out of high school to play football, and then stayed a semester there. They had a coaching change. And he came back, ended up at Oklahoma University, as you said, and won a national championship there with a baseball team. And then decided to get in coaching. I always knew that that's what he would do. His mother was hoping he'd be a doctor or a lawyer or something. Okay. But it didn't turn out that way, but it's turned out good for him. Now and I said a challenge. And I think when you have your children working for you, one, you can't show any favoritism. And I go overboard the opposite way sometimes. Yeah. I'm probably tougher on him as when he was a player, and just as tough now as he coaches for me than I am with anybody else. And I feel sometimes I've mistreated him sometimes. He's an offense coordinator. I get mad at some of the calls he makes. Okay.
Unless it's a touchdown.
Yeah. And then he'll make a good call and say, hey, great call. Yeah. But I mean, coaches are their own critics. I think if you're successful, you have to be your own critic. You can't allow other people to be your critics. I have all kinds of critics in those bleachers every Friday night. Okay, they want to help me coach. I could care less about what they say. What I care about is that group of kids, what they say about me, and the coaches that I surround myself with. And then did I perform up to my ability? And I'm the only one that can decide that. And I can't let any critic decide whether I performed up to my ability. So I'm my biggest critic. After each ball game Friday night, I go home and I write down what I did wrong. Okay. I mean, did I get onto a kid when I shouldn't have? Did I make a bad call on 3rd and 1? Did I not treat that kid good? Did I get onto that coach too much? So I write those things down and try to not make those mistakes again. Success comes from failure. And failure is something that's going to occur in your life every day. But I never allow failure to dictate what I'm going to do.
Man, you're talking my language now. Learning from failure. Hey, I'm curious. How long have you had that notebook that you've been writing this down after a game?
But since I started as head coach.
Oh boy, I bet you my name's in there.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You have inspired me to write a book.
Is that right?
Yes, I've started, but unlike you, I don't know how to do it. So, but I'm started writing things down. Some of it's R-rated. I can't put in there. I have to cover up some names and stuff. But,
oh man, that's fantastic.
But I am. If I can live a lot longer here, I'm going to write me a book.
I love it. Well, you know what? I think you'll do it. Hey, let me ask you this. You've been doing this for a long time. You're continuing to be successful. Another playoff year. I want to ask you this because I heard Lou Holtz say this one time. He said what he feared most was the perils of success, the perils of being number one. How have you sustained success year after year after year and not not get, I don't know, I'll use the word burnout, but when we do things for a long period of time, a lot of times, a lot of people, they get stagnant, I guess, if you will. Have you been able to just sustain that?
I think highly motivated people are not stagnant. I've always been highly motivated. Self-motivation, external motivation. There's only 2 types of motivation, okay? Internal, external, all right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I have that internal motivation, and the outside motivation comes from wanting to keep this program up to the level that it is. I do not want to be the one that drops the ball with this program, because when I was handed the keys, I was handed the keys to a good program. I wasn't handed the keys to a broken down Ford. Okay, I was handed the keys to a good running car, and I've tried to keep that thing tuned up and make it run a little faster. Unfortunately, we've been able to do that. But interesting, the burnout part of it is something that I've always worried about. I think I will know when it is time to quit. Okay, I think something in me will trigger and tell me when it's time to quit. I think success builds success. Okay, we talked about failure building success, but success also builds success. And I mean, how is Alabama able to do what they do? Okay, they just keep mounting success on top of success. Okay. One, you can't when you are successful, you're going to make people mad. Okay. Lou Holtz also said this: if you don't want to have any critics in your life, go sell ice cream. Okay. All right. That was one of his if you don't want to make anybody mad, go sell ice cream. Yeah. Right. So I don't worry about making anybody mad. I think sometimes we don't look at the big picture. I think sometimes we look at small pictures. Let's take, for an example, 1 year you go 3-7. Well, you can't dwell on that. You have to dwell on the big picture, and that's what you've done over 20 years or 30 years or whatever you've done. You can't let one failure dictate to another. You can't let one failure turn into a second failure. And I think, fortunately, we've been able to do that. We might have a bad year, but we bounce back and have a good year. You're going to. We're not. Seminole is not the most well-liked program in around because we've been successful. Okay, you take people like Ada's and people like that, and why did people not like Ada? Because what, they beat you all the time, all right, and they won championships all the time. And I think that's the same way in the business world. People might not like you, but because they see that you're so successful, and they want to be part of that, but they can't, and then they become your critic. And critics. I think of a critic as a guy sitting in his chair, drinking a beer, okay, with the shirt off, and criticizing me. I don't think of somebody that's the way I think of a critic. Okay, just not very much of a critic. I'm not very much of a critical people who criticize others.
I love everything you said there, and I remember I was watching a little bit on social media. Coach Brent Venables, who's now the Oklahoma coach. And he said some advice he was given from Coach Stoops years ago is you can't worry about what people think about your decisions. You just have to make those decisions as long as you're doing it from your heart. Right. And I love what you said there.
Yeah, I think here's the toughest part about coaching. The toughest part about coaching is not deciding to go for 4th and 1 on your 20-yard line. That's an easy decision. The toughest part is deciding what 11 kids go out there and start. That's the toughest part of my job. Okay. Because you look over at the sideline, you see 40 kids who have busted their tail just as much as those 11 kids have, but they're not quite as talented. Okay. You find that in every business level that there is. Okay. You have some more talented than others. Talent reaps rewards. Okay. It's not, I don't play my best 11 players. I play my 11 best. I don't play my 11 best. I play my best 11. Okay. Just because a kid is talented doesn't mean he's one of your best 11. Because you got to put 11 out there that's going to be successful. If I'm a business owner, I've got to put 50 people out there on the floor to be successful. I can't put 40 out there. Okay. Those 10 are going to bring it down. So I think that's the toughest part of my job is deciding who and how much playing time a young man gets.
Man, I got to tell you that puts it all in perspective, because a lot of people are saying, "Oh man, it's 4th and 1. This is a tough call," and you're talking about, yeah, it may be a tough call, but the tougher call is putting the right people out there at the right time. And
that's exactly right. Yes.
I love that. This is so inspiring. One of the questions I wanted to ask you, I kind of skipped over here. I wanted to ask you about, we were talking about your assistant coaches. I know that you continue to inspire and motivate your players so they can, bring out the best of your players. But what about those coaches? Like, how do you continue to inspire them and build them up?
Well, I think my goal as a head coach is to make that assistant coach to have the best assistant coach's job in Oklahoma. That's my goal as head coach. All right. Now, what goes into that? One, responsibility. Okay. You're responsible for the position you coach. All right. If there's failure out there, you've got to take part of that failure. Just as I take failure as a head coach on the end result of a win or a loss. That's my responsibility. You said 379 wins. I've lost 120 or whatever how many of those games. All those 120 something was my fault. Okay, it wasn't anybody else's fault. Right. It was all my fault. I could go back and maybe show you 10 games where we went out there and there wasn't any way we were going to win it. Okay, but then all those others we had a chance to win. I probably made a mistake in there somewhere. But I think when your employees and your coaches, for which would be for me, is to get them to understand. I think that the tradition of something. Okay, you're not just coaching at a normal high school. You're coaching in Seminole, Oklahoma, where we are. And you probably didn't know this, but we are the 4th winningest program in Oklahoma. We are the 43rd winningest program in the nation. Okay, not many people know that. I don't go around telling that to very many people. But I think as an assistant coach, you have to understand that. And our facilities are old, but you know something. We have a locker room where we use wood lockers. I could go buy metal lockers easy. Raising money around here is not a problem. But what do I want? I want them to understand who was in that locker room before then. Okay. I want them to understand. I want that coach to understand who sat behind that desk that he's sitting in right now. So I don't change things a lot. Listen, our kids get so mad at me. We wear the same sock that we wore in 1972, the same design that we wore in 1972. Okay. You don't have a heart. It's very difficult for me to find a three stripe sock. Nobody wears those anymore. All right. But our kids want to wear those Nike socks and all this and that. And I won't let them, because the tradition part of it. I think you have to, when you find something that you hang your hat on, you never change it. You don't change it. And just because, I think, when you become a head coach, you change a few things, but you don't change anything that's tradition wise. And our coaches have to understand the tradition part of it. And as I said, their loyalty is not in question. Our assistant coaches do not have to deal with parents. Okay. That's not their job. That's my job. So I make that easier for them. Okay. If a parent calls them, then I tell them to call, you don't need to talk to them about anything other than what they had for breakfast today, but okay. But anything else, you direct them to me, because that's my responsibility. They shouldn't have to deal with that. So like I said, I'm trying to make that assistant coach's job in Seminole the best assistant coach's job in Oklahoma. One, you got great kids. You got a situation where you can be successful. We've had a lot of coaches go on as head coaches from here and been very successful. I think it's my job also to get that person ready to be a head coach. If you have ambitions to be a head coach, then that's my job as a head coach to get you ready to be a head coach. If you tell me you want to be a head coach 10 years from now, I'm going to get you ready to be a head coach 10 years from now. If you want to stay here and you want to coach here the rest of your life, that's good too, because I'm going to give you a tremendous amount of responsibility. They help form the game plan every Sunday afternoon. We're all in. Okay, you're either all in, you're out, and there's no in between.
I love what you talked about tradition. And I think a lot of leaders out there even in the workplace should think about that when they're thinking about their companies. Companies been around for a long time, talking about tradition and what it means to be there and really making it bigger than a job, right? Bigger than a career, like a calling, if you will. Hey, well, I want to ask you, you've had probably a lot of great moments, a lot of incredible, memorable games, memorable times. Any favorite moments that just come to mind, like in your career?
Yeah, I think you want the good ones, right? there's some memorable ones that they wasn't very good. We played Heritage Hall, and they had Barry Sanders Jr. and Sterling Shepard. Okay, that was a bad memory, but it was a memory. Trust me, it was a memory. Okay, and it just wasn't a good memory. I think you go back. You mentioned the state championship year, and we're playing the state championship game. We're down we're down 26-7 at halftime. Things did not look good, and we regrouped at halftime. Told them, if you do these things, this is going to happen. And boy, did it fall in place for us as we come back to win the ball game and go 80 yards in about a minute and 27 seconds left to win it with no timeouts left to win the ball game and score with about 15 seconds left. That's obviously a big memory. But when you go back and a lot of good memories because my son played when he had some success there. But it's hard to hang your hat on just one memory. I think probably the 82 season, okay, was if you said where was your breakout year as a head coach, that would be it right there. Because I took the job in 80, like we talked about, and didn't have a quarterback. Okay, quarterback was sick, and he got sick before the season started, so we struggled and ended up 6-4. The next year we go to, and you talk about not being afraid to make changes in a business world too, and you can't be afraid to make changes as a coach too. All right.
Yeah.
So we went to that. We went to the Houston Veer in 81. And then 82, we just perfected it a little bit more and had some really good players in 82. Not a lot of, we did not put real 11 talented people out there. We put 11 really good people out there. Okay. And this is always my philosophy. And I tell people this is that you do not win with great players. You win with good players. Okay. Those good players are going to be good no matter what. Okay. Just like a business, you're great employees. It doesn't matter. They're going to be good no matter what you do. So now you got to find that other 8 or 9 people to produce. And you got to make an average player a good player. Okay. A good player, a very good player. And when you've done that, you've got a chance for success. And I thought that's what we did in 82. Well, we wasn't very big. We were very aggressive. We went to the ball well. Won 12 ball games, finished 12-1. I'm sorry, 13-1. Got beat in the semifinals by the state champion, Clinton. And we were, we went about 6 or 7 ball games every time anybody scored. Okay. But it wasn't because we were just so talented. I mean, we had 2 kids off that team who went and played college football, one a punter and one a linebacker.
Yep.
And that it wasn't a super talented team, but everything that you did fell in place because of their work ethic and the fact that they took coaching. I mean, anybody can work for somebody, but if you don't take advice from your boss, you're not going to be a very good employee. It's just the same way as athletics. If you're not going to take any advice from your coach, you're not going to be a very good player. Okay. It's just not going to happen for you.
I love how you talk about that, because a lot of companies talk about how they'll have this 100%. There's going to be this 20% that's really good. And you have this middle, and the key is moving the middle to really good.
That's right.
And moving these others great. I thought you was actually going to say the key to that season was your 3rd string quarterback holding the cord for you on the sidelines. That number 14 guy.
I was getting ready to get there. Okay. See, here's going back to what we was talking about. And that's somebody, did you contribute? Okay. And you contributed. Okay. It's not, I said, it's not about those 11 people that play. It's about those other people that got those 11 people there. You were a good player. You were behind some really good players. Okay. That happens.
It's funny when you look back though. I look back and I'm like, are you crazy? That guy was 5'8", 145. I was small. I felt like I was so big during that.
Exactly
time.
right.
Hey, let me ask you this. Since I'm recording this, you got to coach Mark, my older brother, in 1979 as a receiver, and then you got to coach my younger brother Joe. He graduated class of '87. And then of course me. Who was your favorite?
You were. No doubt about it.
I'll have to let them know that. That's
you let them know. But now wait, you didn't. You left out your sister,
Deborah or Deanna or both.
Deborah.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So she was pretty good. She was your favorite.
Yes, exactly. That's where I was going with that. I had her in the class.
I love. Oh, you did. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, she'll love that.
Yeah.
She'll love that. Oh my God. That's so. Hey, let me ask you this. What is it like for you to have your former players come see you today? I mean, you've had a lot of players. You had a lot of good players. You talked about the punter, Darren, and of course, Randy Simmons. You've had, even on that 77 team, you were part of that state championship team as assistant coach, Eric Pope, in company there. And of course, the young men playing Poppy, playing in Canada now. You've had some incredible play. What's it mean to you for players to come back and visit you and connect with you?
Well, I tell you what, especially if I haven't seen them in a while and they come back and they look around and look to see who is sitting in their locker, to see that expression, to have them, to be able to hug them and tell them how much I still love them, to see them, to have them be able to see another Seminole football game. It is an experience. We can talk about all the experiences and all of the values of a business or how much money you make or whatever, but you cannot put value as a coach when a kid comes back and thanks you for what you did for them. There's no value in that. I mean, you couldn't put a price on that. All right.
Yeah.
Listen to me, and we talk about, you were talking about a job. I've never gone to work in a day of my life. Okay. I think when you have a passion for your job, you never go to work. I've never gone to work. All right. I mean, it's something that I get up and I love every day. And I think to have a long lasting life, you have to have a passion in life. And that can be a hobby, or it can be your job. But my passion right now happens to be my job, and I love getting up every morning going to do that. And I tell those kids when I quit liking to walk down that bridge to that practice field, that's when I need to leave. And right now, I love every day that I walk down that bridge.
I can feel it, man. I love it.
Yes, exactly right.
I can feel it. I feel like
you walk around that corner. You walk around that corner, okay? Friday night, huh?
Nothing like it. Nothing like it. Hey, I want to ask you. Do you one of my favorite moments was back in that 1982 team, and I wrote about it recently in the book Life in the Leadership Lane, and I think it's so important because I tell the story about how our defense had 7 straight shutouts. Now, I remember Bob Ben wearing that shirt, had all those zeros on the back of his shirt.
I found that picture the other day.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh man. I will tell you. So basically they started calling us the green brick wall. And along the fence, you talk about tradition, along the fence, they made the little bricks, right? On the paper. And then when we, our banquet, everybody was given a green brick. And I wrote about it in my book about how, as you go in life, you'll be given some advice from different people, right? And that will help you along your career. And I call those bricks. And so each time I have a podcast, I'll ask a guest, have you ever been given some advice? It could have been from your parents. It could have been from a friend. It could be from colleagues. Have you ever been given some advice? It was just so good. You find yourself sharing that often. And I want to ask you that question. Like if you ever been given any advice that you would share?
I think if you look back, the best advice I've ever been given, and it's probably, it was probably by my dad more than anything, probably. And he said, son, you only have one chance in life. Okay. You don't get to redos. You don't get to do life over. All right. You take it one day at a time. You you don't look forward. You always look, rephrase that. You always look in the rear view. His best phrase, probably the best advice I've ever been given, is always look in the front window, never in the rear view window. Because you can't change the past. You can't change the past.
I love that. I've got chills.
I'm ready to go play.
I'm ready. Yeah, let's go. Hey, we're getting ready to close the interview. This has been such a delight and joy in my life, but I want to ask you about the Mike Snyder Foundation. And I want to ask you, I understand that you started the foundation. I just would like for you to share a little bit about it. Like what is the Mike Snyder Foundation and how, what are you doing for people with it?
Well, my wife and I started this about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And I think that when you look back, I came from a very humble background. Dad worked 7 days a week to make things, worked in the oil field to make things happen for us. But at the same time, and I mentioned that before, I had people in that community help me get through high school, and I had people in town to help pay my college. Okay, they didn't have to do that. But they saw my drive and success I wanted to have, and made sure I had that. So my wife and I decided that we want to give back now. We don't want to wait till we're dead to give back. Okay. I can't see the value of that. I don't want to wait till I'm dead and then say, hey, I'm donating $20,000. That's nothing. So we wanted to do something now to give back to a community who has embraced me since 1972. Okay. You have no idea how good of parents I've had in the 50 years I've been. This is my 50th year total. In the 50 years I've been here, there have been so many people in this community touch my life. Okay.
Mm.
Now, what can I give back? All right. I need to give back to some, and this school system who is, gosh, I've only interviewed for one job since I've been here. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, one job. And that, so the school system has been so good to me. So we had we started out and wanted to start a foundation. Got some people in town helped me get it started. Actually, my first banquet I had a kickoff banquet, and Coach Les Miles came and spoke. He was at OSU that time. He came and spoke for us and got me kicked off, raising some money. I think the main thing I want to do is help a kid who doesn't have something. All right. Now, what do we do? My wife takes some kids Christmas shopping every year. Okay. We find somebody that is not very is not privileged enough to be able to buy a lot of presents under trees. So we do that. I have paid for a processor right now, paying rent for a family who had a member of the family who's died of COVID, and they can't pay the rent. Okay. Or turn their gas on. So, clothes and then help a family along, I think is the key for us. And I give 2 $500 scholarships every year to not someone who is this 4-point student. Okay. I want to find that guy who was like me, that was an average student, a guy or girl that was an average student, and realized he could do a lot more if he just put a lot more into it. Okay. So I'll help pay for their college a little bit for them to get started. I get them started in college. And I think once you get started in an endeavor like that, then you have an opportunity to have success. And we've been very fortunate to have a lot of those young people go ahead and go to college and be successful. I don't spend it on athletics. Okay. I've not spent one penny on athletics. When I need to buy a kid some football shoes, I buy that out of my pocket. I don't buy that out of the foundation. But my wife and I keep putting money back into the foundation, as people in this community do. And this time of year, I picked up, I opened the mail about 3 times this week and had a check in there for our foundation. So this community continues to support me, and in turn supports the young people of this community, which has been a great passion of mine.
I love that. I love everything about that. I love everything about what you're doing with the foundation. If someone listening, there may be some former players and people that didn't know about the Mike Snyder Foundation. How would they go and contribute? Is there like a website, or
do not have a website? It is a tax deductible, so they can do that. But if they want to, they can send it like to 600 West Strother, Seminole, 74868 is a school address, or give a call at the school, and we can give you that information. And our alumni association gave me a huge gift a few years back, a huge gift. And that's really kept me afloat and being able to, and give me the opportunity to do a lot of things. And they went around this community and collected about $20,000 for our foundation, which really has been the basis of what we've done the last few years. But like I said, again, I can't thank enough people in my life who continue. I'm here. I'm 71 years old. Okay. Let's get that out there. And that continue to have a big part of my life. And we talked about former players, and I'm coaching a couple of grandkids right now. Okay. How special is that?
Oh, wow.
How special is that?
That's special. That's
how
special. Yeah. No, that's great.
Okay.
That's great. Oh my gosh. I mean, that just goes to show right there about, the everything you have done and continue to do is good. and how much people appreciate that by showing, like the alumni association, giving a big contribution, or kids or their kids and their kids are coming back to play for you. I've always admired you, and I'm years ago, just real quick story as we end this, I was reading a book. A friend of mine gave me a book, and it was a book that Jim Tressel had written.
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, he was talking about what he does with his players every year, very first day of practice, or when they show up, they basically get out a sheet of paper, and he says, I want you to write a note to somebody that you need to thank. And so I, of course, was reading the book. I was so inspired, and I sent a note to you.
Yes, sir.
And that was the time I kind of came back, and that was my comeback, right?
Yes, it was.
It's time to come back. And ever since then, I've just watched closely. I'm like, man, all the incredible lessons that I learned. I'm so grateful for all of that. I think one of the things I put in the note, you probably remember this, is that I tell people all the time, I got to tackle Troy Aikman on the field, but I don't tell people about the time he struck me out in baseball several times.
Well, Troy, Troy Aikman, and I told our kids the other day, ESPN did a special on Troy many years ago. So they called one coach in Oklahoma to come speak it on for ESPN as me. Okay. I'm probably not even 30 seconds in Troy Aikman's ESPN special. Okay. How special was that?
I did
to be
not
able
know
to do that. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if they still play it or when they play it, but Troy just stuck. You don't feel bad because he struck out 18 people that day. Okay. But we beat him 2-1. We beat him 2-1.
I got to tell you, I'm so grateful for my time with you. I'm grateful for my time with you today. You coming on to record this podcast. You have always been driving in the leadership lane. You inspire me. You inspire so many people around you and in the community. And so for that, I say thank you so much for being on the show today, Coach.
Well, I thank you for having me. That means a lot to me. But let me go back and say this. And when you say, when I look back on people that have played for me and what they've done in their lives, okay, I cannot be more proud of you. That I'm as proud of you as any person I've ever coached, because I know what you've accomplished. First of all, you're a good son, a good father, good husband, okay? And I know that for a fact because I watched you grow up. So people like you and what you've accomplished makes this job worthwhile. Okay. And it can't equal any pay they give me. Okay. They can't take that back. They can take the pay away from me. They can't take Bruce Waller back away from me. They can take my money, but they can't take Bruce Waller and the experience I had with him away from me. Okay. And that's going to go down in memories in my life. And I appreciate people like you and what they've done in their lives. And they have allowed the game of football to guide them a little bit, because football is a metaphor of life. There's not anything that's going to happen in football. It's not going to happen to you in life. Failure, success, adversity, all that. It's going to happen on that football field. And it's going to drive you to be a better person. I'll give you one quick story, and you're a storyteller in your books, and that there was several CEOs that got together. They wanted to identify the most successful workers that they had in each company. And you know what the one common denominator was? They all played athletics. They all played athletics. They knew how to compete. The most productive employees were involved in athletics at the high school level because they knew how to compete. And that's what this world's about. And that's who you try to hire. You're talking about hiring coaches and stuff. You try to find those people that can compete. And when you find somebody that'll compete, you're going to be successful.
I love that, man. Coach, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me. I feel like crying right now. That was incredible. And I appreciate you. I love you. And I'm grateful for you and your wife, Glenda.
Yes, sir.
and your family, and you just continue to do what you do and continue to inspire. And I just want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, son. And you too, and your family, and your whole family, your kids, brothers and sisters. All right. You
All
tell
right,
them.
I will. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you,
I'll
son.
talk to you later.
All right.